and then discuss and record how a treatment professional or paraprofessional might prepare to capitalize on such opportunities to introduce or reinforce the types of resiliency factors from Walsh's article.
Perfect. So the first one is to go over like the subtle, just the subtle things that we noticed that went along with our article, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Who wants to go first? Kaylee, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Perfect.
So these are just my notes of what I wrote down about the video. First thing I observed was that he found out what each of them liked to do, so he tried to create kind of a personal connection with each of them to make them feel more comfortable. He showed an interest in their personal interests that kind of went along with that. He figured out why they were there and what each person thought of the situation. So, like, Jimmy, wasn't his name Jimmy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't really think it was a big deal. The dad didn't necessarily think it was a big deal. So anyway, he just did the, I don't know, he just found out what they thought. He found out the roles of each of them. And one thing that I thought he did really well was he rephrased what they said to make sure he understood. I kind of thought he did it too much, or he could have switched up his wording a little bit, because he was always saying, now let me see if I understand what you're saying, or, some stuff like that. So I
Gotcha.
Yeah, he said gotcha all the time.
Yeah, I was kind of like, all right, you're kind of sounding like you're staged a little bit. So I thought the therapist maybe could have worked on that, but I know we're not supposed to critique it. But anyway, I guess I could stop there. I wrote a little bit more, but that's kind of like the start of it. So do you want me to keep going, or is that
No,
good?
that's perfect. Yeah, great. Rich, do you want to go next?
Sure. I was just grabbing my article here. What I did is I just kind of, as I was watching the article, tried to bounce back and forth from the video chapter 6. I was confused. It kept calling it an article. I'm like, this isn't an article. It's a doggone chapter. It's part of the book. Good heavens.
That was a novel.
Anyway, I just started highlighting things that I saw the therapist do or use, some of the techniques, the different things. And I pretty much got just about everything highlighted, at least the can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My phone was just starting to wig out.
Oh.
Pretty much all of the highlighted topics out of the chapter was something that he used. But one thing I thought I liked most of what he did was the fact that he started to play musical chairs with the family. And ultimately, the husband and wife were now sitting by each other. They were now more unified together, instead of having the kids between them and, well, she's way overreacting and he doesn't care about me and that kind of stuff. They were now together trying to heal their family. And even to the point where you could notice their body language. They were starting to hold hands. He had his arm around her. That relationship became, in my mind, kind of the starting point of where the healing for the family began as well. And then he brought the son next to his dad, so that relationship could kind of heal. And then the siblings were next to each other that way. And I just thought it was interesting how he utilized throughout the session the repositioning of the family individuals to then be able to start working on what was most important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I liked how he talked a lot about, he was, making it so clear to each one of them how they were all affecting each other. So going along with, family systems theory, that each one of us, when one person is acting out of line, then it affects everyone else. I also noticed that, like in the article or the chapter, it talks about how families don't talk about things that they should, and they just like keep things in. It's kind of like the understood thing, but really it's not understood. They don't get out and talk to each other about what they should be talking about. So I also liked how he kind of made it a point to show them that you really need to talk about these things and try to do it in a calm manner. Are you still there, Rich?
Yeah, I'm still here. I just got a text from Heather, so I was trying to respond to her as well.
Oh, okay. And then I liked how he talked about sometimes we can draw on in the article it talks about drawing upon spiritual resources, and then in the video, Brother Williams, I know Brother Williams. I don't know if you guys know Brother Williams, but I do.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, perfect. I didn't know if that was going to be confusing. Anyway, so Brother Williams talks about, he's like, we need help from the other side. And so I thought that was kind of cool how he made it a point to draw on whatever spiritual beliefs that you do have, like just recognizing that we do need help from the other side. So anyways, I think I'll stop there.
You guys decided to stop. You guys were on such a good roll, though. I think Heather can hear us.
Oh, good.
I think. I just asked her to try and say something, but that may not work. So in order to use the proper terminology, we have to say that he was reframing and relabeling a lot.
It's very true.
But he was very respectful, used respectful language. Okay, I'm going to throw something else in there.
Okay.
Because you guys are being too quiet. I liked how you actually said it, that the systems theory, how everybody's had their own little strength or whatever, and how they interacted. He was literally building each individual up. I really appreciated that. And, it wasn't that mom was mad. It was just mom was just a little overreacting because she loved her kids so much. And the whole mother bear theory and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciated how he was building individual strengths. And maybe that's what you were saying before.
No, I like that. No, that's definitely adding on. That just reminded me of something else that I noticed. So he didn't, he kind of did. He kind of like, oh, Heather's here. Yay!
Hey, I'm here.
Hi, Heather.
Hi. Sorry, I had to get on my phone to make this work.
It's okay. We're just kind of talking about the things that we noticed from the video that go along with what we read in the article/chapter.
Okay, so I can, there's Rich. Okay, awesome. Let me turn off my computer so I get it right. Okay, I've been listening, so I kind of have been following along. Sorry, Rich, we're in the middle of something?
No, Pa's done. Totally done.
Okay, so shall I go? Am I cutting in? I feel like I'm jumping
in. Go for it.
Okay. I thought a lot of the same things that you guys did. I liked his style. I've been to a couple of family therapy sessions with my daughter. She kind of struggled with anxiety. And so some of the things that he did were familiar and some were different. And I think that most of them were just stylistically different. Like you guys said, he said gotcha a lot. I kind of thought the way he went about things was, I don't know, different than what I had seen before. But I did like how he talked to him a little bit in the beginning to find common ground, and so he could draw on it later to say, oh, maybe you could go with your brother to the skate park, or maybe you could find these commonalities with your family. Even if he did it in a cheesy way, I think it still kind of helped him to realize that they weren't that different, from each other. Also, let's see here. I liked how he kept going back to the family, how kind of reiterating that they cared about each other, and that although they were having these issues or having problems, that it wasn't a deal breaker, if that makes sense, that they could still love each other and they could overcome these issues, and that this wasn't something that was insurmountable. And I really like that when in the chapter where it talked about connectedness with the mutual support, collaboration, commitment. And I think sometimes when we get into our own heads and are having problems with our family, we are only thinking of our own feelings and our own thoughts and our own perceptions of what's going on. And just like this family did, they were all having their own reactions and their own thoughts, and they were all totally wrong. And he was really good at reminding each of them of their feelings toward each other. Like, maybe you're not seeing what's really happening. Maybe you think your family hates you, but they actually care about you. And I think it was funny because, at least in my family, I have several teenagers, and it's easy for them to automatically think, oh my gosh, my parents hate me because they're on my back, when in reality it's because we love them and we care about them. And it's really nice to have a third party to say, hey, your parents love you, remember that, even if they're acting like idiots, because parents do that sometimes. But I thought he was really good about that too. What else? Oh, one thing I liked that he did too was to acknowledge their feelings about the open emotional expression, sharing ranges of feelings. He was good to validate that and say, yeah, when this happens, that when your son doesn't call you, that would scare you. And the mom was saying yes, and she was feeling like, yes, somebody understands how I feel. And he was good about doing that for everybody, even for the son, saying, yeah, it's annoying when your parents are on your back. And the son was saying yes, and so they all could feel the range of emotions that the others were feeling, but they were also feeling validated by the therapist in their feelings, if that makes sense. Anything else? I did like in the positive outlook section of the article, which you're right, Rich, this is a really long chapter. This is no article, but...
yeah, this is a whole magazine.
Yeah, no kidding. I went to print it out, and I said, 40 pages? That's ridiculous.
I did print it, and I was like, oh, my goodness.
I know, me too. But I liked when with a positive outlook, he was very good at keeping an optimistic view with them and focusing on their strengths and being very positive instead of saying, yeah, you guys are totally screwed up. This is going to take a lot of work. This is going to be a lot of sessions. I thought he was good about being positive and helpful without saying, these are the things you need to do. You have to call your parents. You have to, give your son some slack. I thought he was good about being optimistic and letting them figure out the best solution for their own family. So.
Well, and that was like when he said, if I can comment off of that, Heather, because he made the comment a couple of different times, you guys know your family better than I do. Right. You guys are going to be able to fix this. He built that hope, that optimistic approach to them, stating the fact that, hey, you guys got this figured out. You just need a little direction.
Right.
And that, and that's what our sessions are going to be, not to fix the problem, but we're just going to game plan as to how we can get this figured out together. And so that was kind of a cool approach, I think.
Yeah.
To build on the family rather than the therapist is the expert here, and what I say goes.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, just to add something to go along with that. He helped them see that they actually have the resources to fix their problems. They really do, if they grab hold of those resources and recognize that they can be in control of the situation and do what they can to become a better family together.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I agree. And I think that's really cool because...
Kaylee wants to add something.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I noticed that he actually asked them what could be done, what they thought they could do. And they kind of didn't quite know how to respond because each of them, the mom was like, well, he could call me, that's kind of what she was portraying. And my son was like, well, she could just stay off my back or whatever. But he kind of I liked how he put the ball in their court and then just offered those suggestions in a really non-assuming manner. He wanted to make sure it was doable, that they could get those 3 assignments that he asked them to do. He just wanted to make sure that it was doable for them, that they thought that they could accomplish that, So I like how he first asked them what they thought they could do, and then I liked how he offered that, and then like didn't give them too many things that they could do, so that they were able to stay successful and feel like they could actually make some progress.
Yeah. I like that too. I thought he did a really good job, and I thought the same thing you did when he said, well, what do you guys think what you could do? Why don't you think of some possibilities? And all of them were kind of like, what? Like, what? I thought, we're here for you to fix us. We thought that, that you were going to tell us, but I like he really empowered them and said, you're right. Like you said, Nicole, you guys have the resources, and this is up to you to do, and here are some guidelines. And he gave them some positive reinforcement, and hopefully would give them some confidence to be able to take those little steps with those assignments that he gave him. I thought that was awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and those little steps. I mean, how difficult is it for a husband and wife to go out to dinner?
Right.
I shouldn't make it say that, because I know I should take my wife out more, but I mean, now we're talking about the brother and sister. They're going to go get a soda, and
right.
The simple steps that, okay, Dad, you and son are going to go take a drive and just talk like you used to. The simple things that they could start mending these relationships.
Right. Yeah, I like that a lot too, and it's funny because the assignments he gave them were so simple and so basic, but I think when you're in the midst of what you feel is a crisis in your family, those easy things kind of go out the door. Or maybe if you're kind of estranged or you have hard feelings, you're not going to say to your brother, let's go out and get a drink real quick. That's not going to be your thought process. But when it comes across as an assignment, then I think it's a lot easier to go through with it, even if you start out begrudgingly. Hopefully it'll open the door for a little more communication. So I like that. Let's see, what else is on here that I have?
Sounds like you wrote a magazine too. Good heavens.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I only wrote a few notes actually. But it was just interesting since we've had this situation. Again, it wasn't the same thing at all that they were going through, but it's really nice to have everybody have a say in it. And I like that he had the whole family coming together, and he wasn't saying, okay, parents, you need to sit down and you need to write down these things and you need to do these assignments and you need to carry it out with your family. Every single person was an equal party to it, and they all had shared responsibility, and they all had shared I don't know if guilt is the right word, but they all had a part in it. And so because of that, they all got to have a part in fixing it or in making changes that would help their family, and I thought that was cool too. Let's see, is there anything else? Do you guys have anything else you want to?
I had one more thing. I liked how Brother Williams, he was really he was really good at observing and taking note of things that they said in the very beginning. Because once they kind of got to a dead end, then he'd go back and be like, I remember you mentioning, and then he'd dive in there and get to go deeper and kind of find new meaning and help them better understand their situation as well.
Yeah, I like that too. How do you guys know him? You mentioned earlier that you knew him.
Oh, he's a professor on campus.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought he did a great job, and I liked how sometimes he would say things, or they would finish what they were saying and he would pause and just let everybody think about it for a second and say, okay, and sit there and kind of let them mull it over and let them process a little bit before he went on and would say, and he would kind of go on. And it was interesting. I was having, ironically enough, technical difficulties with the video a little bit, and so it was kind of freezing. So for a while I was reading the transcript and going through it, and it was so cool to read or to watch it instead of read it, because you could see their interactions with each other and the brother and sister looking at each other, or the parents, and it was really cool how you could watch him, the therapist, watch them and kind of play off their emotions, say, oh, I can see you're looking at your brother right now, how do you feel about whatever. And I thought that he did a good job reading what little emotion they were willing to show, and he did a good job of leading the discussion with them so that they didn't feel like they were kind of put on the spot.
Yeah, he did a great job of noting nonverbal cues and kind of it was awesome.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Kaylee, were you going to say something?
I have actually worked with him personally. I've done things with him. So I didn't have a very good experience with him. I could not stand going to the sessions. And it was really, really uncomfortable, and I finally just stopped going because I was like, this is not good. I'm not making any progress type of thing.
Yeah.
And I share that in confidence with you guys. That's personal to me, but so I actually had a hard time watching this session when I saw that he was the therapist. I was like, oh, man.
Kaylee, time out for a second.
What was that?
I just said time out because we have to remember that this is live on the web. So if there's anything else that you, just as a reminder.
Anything private?
No, I was just going to say, like, at first I was really against watching him, but as I kept watching him, I was like, you know what, he's doing a great job. Kind of going off of what you guys said, I did like how he was sensitive to their body language, and I don't think he, like, made him go too deep to where they were uncomfortable, and I thought that was really impressive. And then one other thing that I liked is that he got them to come to realizations about each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the son, Jimmy, whatever, he realized that his mom really did care about him, or his sister really did care, and the reason why she was doing that is because she was worried about him and she loved him and stuff like that. So I liked how he was able to bring those things out in each of them that they had kind of forgotten, you know?
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. What a coincidence that you actually knew him. That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I can see where stylistically, maybe he wouldn't be your style, but I think you're right. I agree with you that he did do a good job with this family specifically. And I don't know if it was totally scripted or if it was a real family situation, or I don't know. I was curious what the real situation was, but I don't know. I felt like them being reserved and they seemed kind of nervous. It kind of seemed like it was a real situation. They didn't seem like actors, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Let's see if there's anything else on here. Do you guys have anything else that you'd like to share? I think we've got everything.
Yeah, that's good.
I think we about covered it. Just reading a little bit off of the therapy session on the assignment list or whatever. This simulated session was neither scripted nor planned around the principles and practices outlined by Walsh. So it wasn't scripted according to our quote-unquote article.
Right.
But, yeah, it would be interesting to see if this was a real-life situation.
Right.
You know, the dad was wearing a Nebraska shirt, so maybe they truly did come from Nebraska. You know, whatever it may be, but ultimately, I think the bottom line for the family is that they realized that even though they were a little bit on the broken side because of the strain in the relationships, they realized that together they could make it better.
Right.
And I think the therapist used a lot of these Walsh-isms, if I could use that phrase, to help them realize that there was already resiliency inside each one of them.
Right.
You know, the fact that, you know, he gave the benefit of the doubt to Jimmy, saying, hey, maybe you can't honestly answer this question, but are you actually using? And the guy's like, no, I'm not. It's like, oh, really? You're not? I mean, it was almost like it was a huge surprise that.
Yeah.
And so he then helped, once again, the resiliency of Jimmy to be around that kind of an influence and still, like his dad said, know right from wrong and not, you know, get himself into trouble where the cops were having to bring him home at night or morning or whatever time it was.
Right.
So,
yeah,
that was kind of cool that way.
I think cool.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to note one more thing. As I was looking back over my notes, talked about in the article cultivating acceptance of imperfections, mistakes, and failures are normal. I liked how when he was talking about Jimmy, like he's graduated high school now. Like, this is normal. Like, it's normal for him to kind of pull away from his family a little bit and discover who he really is. So I liked how he kind of grasped onto it's normal, okay? It's okay to fail sometimes. You're not crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And what I thought was really interesting is that he didn't, like you were saying, he was acting like things were normal, but he didn't jump on that at all. He didn't say, well, why aren't you going to college, or why don't you have a job, and he didn't jump in right and start, getting on his case for anything. He was just like, yeah, he's 18, and he didn't even like scratch the surface of that, where I as a parent would be like, what are you doing with your life? Make plans, do something, get a job, whatever. So I thought that he was very good at having restraint and not showing judgment, or like when they said the wife would get out of control and she'd get really upset, like he didn't jump on that or harp on that, which I thought the wife was nice about that too. When they said that she went crazy, and she's like, yeah, I think I did.
I know, I would have been so upset.
I know, me too. I was like, what the heck, lady? Oh my gosh. Anyway.
I'm just trashing you right now.
Totally. But I did like how the therapist was like, yeah, that's good. He's getting older, or sometimes, well, I can't remember what he said. Oh, he kept saying, you act out of character, and he was so calm and so fine with everything that I felt like it kind of smoothed things over the family, where everybody could acknowledge, like Jimmy could acknowledge, yeah, I'm not fulfilling my potential, and the wife could be like, yeah, I'm not, I'm acting out of character, without her being an attack on anybody. And I thought he was really good about that too. So.
Good.
Okay, I think we're good. Does anybody have any questions or concerns, or?
Do we need to talk about just about like arch, like treatment, what does it say? Discuss and record how treatment professional or paraprofessional might prepare to capitalize on such opportunities to introduce or reinforce the types of resiliency factors from Walsh's article. I guess we covered it, really.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered it. I think that he just took the opportunities that he could with things that he had found out about him, or things that they were saying, to introduce these things, saying, we're worried about this, and like we were talking about him being cool about Jimmy's life or whatever, but still finding common themes, or like with the belief system themes that would fit into what they were talking about, or later about the communication when they were trying to figure things out, to actually make progress or give them assignments. He could draw on that knowledge.
Yeah. I want to see the next session and how he like holds them accountable, for the time gave them.
Yeah, I'm curious
That's
about
the
that.
wife orders chicken.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Do you want to just, Kaylee? Do you just want to? I think we're supposed to are we supposed to say our summary, or can we just email her our summary?
Whatever I think we decide. It does say we're supposed to spend a few minutes, up to 15, to kind of compose our final version of our summary.
Okay.
Whether we do that right now, whether we do that on another session or a Google Doc or something like that, we can decide.
Well, Kaylee has been typing a summary, so Kaylee, do you just want to kind of tell us what we talked about?
So, it's a little over a page, so I'll just go through it really quick. He found out what each of the members liked to do, showed an interest in their interest. He started playing musical chairs. Husband and wife were then sitting by each other and made it more unified together. They were now working as a team. Their body language started changing as well. He also brought Jimmy next to his dad, so that those two who were similar were next to each other. Talks a lot about how each of them were affecting one another. Family systems theory: when one person is acting out of line, it affects everyone else. Families don't talk about things that they should. They assume that each other knows what they are thinking. He made it a point to show them that they really needed to voice their opinions and go over things. He talked about sometimes we can draw upon spiritual resources, whatever beliefs that may be. He was reframing and relabeling a lot during the session. Systems theory, how they each are affected by each other. Okay, I typed that twice. He was acknowledging that each of them had different strengths that he was pointing out to each other. He was very stylistic to the family and catered to them. He tried to find common ground with each other to draw upon later, even if it was done in a slightly cheesy way. He kept reiterating how they all cared about each other, and it wasn't a deal breaker. It was still an option to keep going and to keep loving each other. He drew upon connectedness and showing that they did support each other. Each family member was having their own reactions to the stressor, but reminded them that they all loved each other and were doing their actions out of love. Out of love. He acknowledged their emotions and how they showed it outwardly. He validated how they reacted to these events. They each felt validated in their feelings. He was good at keeping an optimistic view of them and focused on their strengths. He offered a lot of encouragement to them. He didn't tell them what they needed to do. He kept saying, "You guys know your family better than I do." He wanted to make sure that they knew each other and they could come up with the solutions. He helped them realize that they had the resources they needed to get over this and become a better family. He asked them what they could do as a family and then offered easy assignments they could do so that they were able to be successful. He let each of the family members have a say in the matter. They were able to contribute and share and have shared responsibility. They all had a part in it, and in turn, they had a part in fixing it. He observed what they said at the first and got them to go deeper. The therapist played off of their emotions and went off of nonverbal cues. They all came to realizations about each other and made them realize that they were there for each other. He didn't get on anyone else's case. He just validated that sometimes after high school we don't have things planned out. Sometimes we overreact, and just the different things that he did. He was good at just stating the facts without offending each of them. And the last thing is, he took the opportunities that he could with the information he had to find things in common with each other. He was good at bringing things in that he had found about them.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds really good.
Does anyone have anything else to add before I'm just going to stop the broadcast and then we can, close.
Okay, sounds good.
Just a second. Okay.